Fastening your shingles correctly is the single most important skill that you'll need to master to apply shingles successfully. By far the most common mistakes I've seen on shingle roofs are shingles that are nailed incorrectly. Either they're installed with too few nails or the nails are in the wrong place. And this is a shame because nailing shingles down correctly is really easy and straightforward. So that's what we're going to be covering in this section. To start with, let's start with the nail that you're going to use. Typically, I use a roofing nail like this that is 1.25 inches long. In most situations, this is all you need. If you're going over 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch decking and felt, that's all the nail that you're going to need. If you're laying your shingles over another layer of shingles, which I don't recommend, make sure to use a nail that is long enough to penetrate the roofing and come out the other side of the decking, or at least go into the decking 3/4 inch. So if your decking is 3/4 inch or thicker, make sure the nail goes in there at least 3/4 inch. Most decking that we see is 1/2 inch thick, and in those cases the nails should come out the other side. So get your nail long enough to accommodate that. Again, for re-roofing where you've done a tear off and everything like that, 1.25 inch nail is going to work out fine. That's what is most commonly sold and for nail guns and everything. So for most of this video, as you see, we're going to be hand driving our nails with just a regular hammer. I'm going to go into how to use a nail gun in a bit at the end of this section. Using a gun is going to help move your project along a bit quicker, but I warn you that if you're not familiar working with pneumatic tools, the nail gun may slow you down, and indeed it may lead to a lower quality installation if you're not careful. So if you're planning on just doing one project, you're going to do fine just hand nailing the shingles with a hammer.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. Please hit subscribe so you can be a part of my channel. You can watch all my videos that cover complete stages of both shingle and metal roofing. There's tons more content coming out soon about all aspects of roofing, including skylights and trim and sheds and whatever you're interested in.
So before I go into where to put the nails in the shingle, I'm going to focus on how the nail should be driven. It's an essential to make sure that the nail is driven straight down into the shingles and not at an angle. You need the head of the nail to make contact with the shingle all the way around and not just to one side. Likewise, you want to make sure that the nail is driven down completely and it's not underdriven or overdriven. Overdriving the nail can be a big problem in hot summer months when the shingles are extremely soft and pliable and you're using a nail gun. Hand driving the nails is the best way to ensure that they don't go, the nails don't go in too far, as it is easy to tell if you've seated the nail correctly when you're nailing it with a hammer. People tend to go really quick with a gun. So, also if you're using a hammer, you can tell if you've put the nail into actual wood, especially if you're working on a wood deck comprised of individual 1x6, 1x8 boards. It's easy to put the nail in the gap between the boards where your nails really isn't gripping into any wood. If you're using a nail gun, you're shooting the nails, it's really hard to tell if you hit wood or not. So, again, for all of these reasons, using a hammer is the best way to go, especially if you're not that experienced. Where you put the nails in the shingles is just as important as how you drive them. Well-driven nails that are applied into the wrong part of the shingles are not going to do you much good. To show you where the nails should go, let's take a step back to understand the way the shingles work. When shingles are properly applied, the shingles are overlapping like this. As you can see, the shingle is overlapped so that the top part of the lower shingle is under the middle part of the top shingle. It is in this small band in the middle of the top shingle that you place the nail. When you do, you'll see how the nail goes through both the top shingle and the shingle below it. When done correctly, this ensures that each shingle has at least 8 nails per shingle when you place 4 nails through the face of the top shingle. If you nail too high like this, you'll see that the nail misses the bottom shingle. In this case, the shingle will have half as many fasteners as are required to hold it onto the roof. While you won't notice a difference immediately, these shingles will be very susceptible to blowing off, or on steep slopes, the weight of the shingles themselves will actually pull them off the nails if they aren't fastened properly. I've seen whole sheets of shingles falling off roofs where they weren't nailed in the correct place. So you want to make sure that your nails are placed low enough to go through the bottom course of shingles. So now we're going to look at where the nails actually go in through the top shingle. While the placement is pretty similar for both 3-tab and architectural shingles, I'm going to show you them separately just so we're on the same page. Just keep in mind again, all shingles are going to need at least 4 nails. All right, so I'm just going to show you real quick how to nail and fasten correctly a 3-tab shingle. It's similar to the architectural shingle. It's a little simpler because we don't have the laminated part to worry about, and we've also got these breaks in the shingle which are going to indicate where the nails go in the shingle. So basically, same as the architect on a standard pitch roof, you're going to get 4 nails per shingle, and they're going to go at either end, and then one is going to go over top of each of the 2 channels, which is going to give you 4 nails when you're all done. So. Okay, so you can see I've got the shingle nailed in. Again, 4 nails per shingle, 1 at either end, 2 in the middle. This is the key about this shingle. It's really the same as the architectural shingle is you want to make sure to get your nails low enough. The biggest mistake that people make is that they either put the nails up here, they put the nail on the glue strip, or a little bit too high. The nails go right below the glue strip on these shingles. Some are different. With the glue strip might be in a different place, but right here it's going to go right below the glue strip, right above the break in the shingle right here. And it's pretty close to where the other shingle actually comes over top and overlaps it, which is why a lot of people get a little hesitant and go up here. But this is the correct place to place the nail in the shingle. And when it goes through at this point, it's still low enough to go through the top of the shingle below it. So that's what you want, is this to go through the top shingle and through the shingle below it. And so I can feel right here the other shingle below it ends right in about here. So right here, and that's about it. The 3-tab's real easy because you got the 2 channels to tell you where to nail them. So for an architectural shingle, you will still be placing 4 nails in the top of the shingle, but it's not quite as obvious as a 3-tab as there are no cutouts to guide your placement. Most architectural shingles like this one have a line that guides your placement, and you're going to want to put your nail through the line, not above it, and not below it, so right in the middle of the line. While some manufacturers do include, like this one, a separate nailing line up above the lower lines that they allow you to nail into on certain slopes, I'd encourage you, no matter what the slope, to just focus on putting the nail in the space in the middle of the shingle below this lower line. So unlike 3-tab shingles, which is just one flat sheet of asphalt, this architectural shingle is actually comprised of 2 separate pieces of asphalt that are laminated together. So you've got a top piece and you've got a bottom piece. You can see on the back here, this is the top of the bottom piece. And if you look on the side here, you can see that there's really just a narrow area where right here between my fingers where the top piece and the bottom piece overlap. And it's in this narrow band right at the center of the shingle where you want to put your nail, so that the nail pins both laminates together, in addition to going through the top of the lower shingle. So that's the problem with the laminate shingles. If you put your nail up here, not only are you missing the shingle below it, but you're also not nailing those 2 pieces of the laminate together. Obviously, 2 of the nails are going to go at either end of the shingle. Where the other 2 nails go in the middle is extremely important. And again, it's not as obvious as with the 3-tab because you don't have the cutouts. You need to space the nails so that they don't end up anywhere near the butt joint of the shingles that are going to go above it. In this case, as we were working left to right, the butt joint is going to land approximately 6 inches from the right side of the shingle. So you want to make sure that the nail does not land in this area, as it will be right near the butt joint and susceptible to water running between the shingle and over the nail head. In practice, what this means is that you want to put the nail in the end of the shingle and then skip a foot before putting the second nail in. As a result, the nails may not be completely symmetrical on the top of the shingle like they are with a 3-tab, but that's okay. It's better to put the nail a little too far away than risk it being too close to the joint. Essentially, your nails will be both 1 foot in from the end and 1 foot apart from each other. In practice, your nails are probably going to end up looking a bit more like this with the nails a bit closer together on this side of the shingle. So I want to make a quick point about another mistake that you might make. And if you're doing a whole roof with a bunch of shingles, you got thousands of nails, this is going to happen. And what's going to happen is you're going to get a nail that gets driven too low. I mean, this is more common with when you're using a nail gun because you're moving a lot quicker. Not so much when you're hand driving. You got a little more, going to be a little more careful that way. But so anyway, I just put this nail in as an example, and it's a little bit below this line. And the problem then, of course, is that when you bring this top shingle in and install it correctly, as you can see the bottom edge of this nail. And you obviously want to avoid this. I think because these nails are really close to the bottom edge of the shingle, that's why a lot of people tend to cheat high, because they want to avoid having these little shiners that show up below the shingle. But you might be tempted to leave that. You might be tempted to just throw a dab of caulk over it and call it good and keep moving. But what I really encourage you to do if you do have a nail that ends up going a little low is just take this whole shingle out, take the nail out, put a new shingle in there, because your roof's going to be on for 10, 20, 30 years, and eventually this nail is going to rust out and you're going to have a bad leak problem there. No matter what, if you put caulk over it or anything, it's going to cause you a problem down the road. So just take your time if you make that mistake, and you will, and just go ahead and take the whole shingle out and replace it. So the preceding instructions apply to nailing shingles on standard slopes, which are between a 412 and a 2112. Now, 2112 roofs are getting pretty close to vertical for your average roofer, and at least in my part of the country, those steep of roofs are pretty rare. Where you see this type of roof most often is on a mansard roof, which looks like this. If you need to apply shingles to this type of roof, you'll need to add a few extra nails to hold the shingle on. If you think about it, on a lower slope roof, gravity is essentially pulling the shingle down onto the roof, but on a steep or nearly vertical roof like this, gravity is really working to pull the shingle down off the roof. Over the years, I've seen a lot of problems with shingle roofs on these type of steep slopes, usually because they were nailed incorrectly. So on these steep slopes, you'll need to place 6 nails per shingle rather than 4. For a 3-tab shingle, you need to place 2 nails above each of the cutouts, so just right next to where the other one would go. And on an architect like this, the idea is the same. You just put 2 nails about an inch apart rather than 1 in the middle. And you can see what I've done that here. In each case, for the architect or the 3-tab, it's recommended that you also apply several dabs of roofing cement under the tab to help hold it on, because it's not going to glue down as strongly. For those of you using pneumatic nail guns, I want to make a few tips on using them effectively. The most important thing to get right when you're using a nail gun is to get the pressure on the compressor correct. This setting is going to vary wildly depending on how many people are using the guns, on the air pressure around you, and on the temperature outside. The idea is to have the correct pressure to seat the nails down tight to the shingle without being too much pressure to cause the nail to shoot right through the shingle. You'll have to experiment with the pressure settings to get it set correctly. If you're working on a hot day, you'll notice that it's a lot easier to drive the nail through the shingle. In this situation, you just make sure to back off the pressure on your compressor. It's better to have it set a bit too low and have to come in and hand drive a few nails flush than to have a bunch of nails that are just shooting straight through your shingles. The other big issue with using nail guns is making sure to drive the nails straight through the shingle and not at an angle like this. The sharp edge of this nail might not seem like a problem today, but in a few years it will cut right through the shingle on top. If this happens, make sure to bend the edge of the nail down, or preferably take the nail out and start over. The key to getting the gun to drive straight is holding it at the correct angle perpendicular to the shingle and to the decking. This is easy when you're nailing directly in front of you, but it's more difficult when you go to reach out to put a nail in the side of the shingle. Just make sure to either bend your wrist to get the angle right, or to move over a little so the gun can sit straight.
If you'd like the complete series for yourself on how to do shingle or metal roofing, you can go to my website, RoofingIntelligence.com, and there you can get a membership to either stream, or you can get a DVD in the mail that'll show you how to do all the steps for either of those types of roofing. Enjoy this video. Thanks so much for watching.